What's up, everybody? Welcome to Sports Magazine Collector. I'm Brad, and today we have our second edition of Sports Magazine Moguls. We are counting down the highest sports magazine sales from August 2022. All right, we had a great month of August, some very strong sales. So let's go ahead and jump right in and take a look at the number 5 issue in August 2022. And we have a LeBron James first cover from 2002, graded at a 9.8, sells for $9,000 on Heritage. So this is an iconic cover. This is one of the most popular and most well-known covers in Sports Illustrated history. LeBron James, obviously, he's one of the greatest basketball players of all time. Coming in at 9.8, that is the highest grade that has ever been given to a Sports Illustrated. So this is considered to be in mint condition. And when you take a look at the pop reports here, you can see that this issue has been graded quite a bit. This is actually the second most frequently graded Sports Illustrated issue of all time as of now, only behind the 1954 first issue with Eddie Matthews. And yeah, pop counts are pretty high, at least in terms of SIs. Now, maybe, if you come from the sports cards world and you see that there's only 190 graded and there's 34 9.8s, that's not crazy high. That's still pretty rare, when you take all into consideration. But compared to the other SIs, this is one of the most frequently graded copies. So there's 34 total copies, just like this one, graded in a 9.8. And that just shows you, still selling for $9,000. That tells you the collectability of LeBron James. That tells you the collectability of a superstar athlete, first cover, graded in a 9.8. Number 4, it's the Fish, Mike Trout, 2012. This is his first cover. This is once again a mint 9.8, and it sells for $9,600 on Heritage. Beautiful cover here. Mike Trout very prominently featured on the cover. The supernatural, really cool headline. And yeah, look at the pop counts. This one is a little bit more rare than the LeBron James. So LeBron James had 190 copies. Only 45 newsstand copies of this Mike Trout have been graded. And look at the 9.8s. This is one of only four copies in the world, as opposed to 12 9.6s. That just tells you this is a really difficult cover to pop a 9.8. And yeah, this is one right here. Beautiful 9.8, sold for $9,600. Number 3, one of the most collectible issues of Sports Illustrated, Mike Tyson, 1986. This is his first cover, graded at a 9.0, and it went for $11,200. Look at that, Kid Dynamite. This was before he was even really known as Iron Mike. And man, this cover is hard to find. Let's look at the pop counts. 16 copies of this issue in newsstand is all that have been graded. So we went from that LeBron 190 to the Mike Trout 45. Look at this Mike Tyson from 1986. There's only been 16 copies graded, and this 9.0, it's a pop 1 of 2, none higher. So there's never been a 9.2, 9.4, 9.6, or 9.8. So that tells you why this 9.0 went so strong, $11,200. And once again, this is just an awesome cover. Definitely one of the most collectible covers from the 80s and probably from the entire run of Sports Illustrated. Coming in at number 2, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. You've got Cassius Clay, also known as Muhammad Ali. This is his first ever Sports Illustrated cover from 1963. This copy is graded at a 9.2, and it sold for $13,200 on Heritage. Beautiful, iconic cover. One of the greatest ever, one of the greatest athletes of all time. Check out the pop reports here. There have been 20 total newsstand issues of this graded. You have 1 9.6, you have 3 9.4s, and then there are 2 9.2s. So there are actually 4 copies out there graded higher than this Muhammad Ali, but at a 9.2, even with 4 higher graded copies, selling for $13,200. Very strong sale of one of the most iconic covers of all time. And coming in as the number 1 highest sports magazine sale for the month of August 2022, we have the great, legendary Mickey Mantle. This is his very first cover from 1956, and this copy is graded at a CGC 9.0. It sold for $27,600, coming up just short of the all-time record as of now for a public sports magazine sale. That's, of course, $30,000 for a 9.4 Wayne Gretzky first cover, but Mickey gave him a run, 27,600 for his first cover to 9.0. And look at the pop reports. There have been 27 copies of this issue graded. There are 2 9.6s, 6 9.4s, 1 9.2, and then this one 9.0. So there are actually nine copies rated higher than this issue right here and still going for 27,600. That really makes you wonder what a 9.2, a 9.4, or one of those 9.6s would go for. Mickey Mantle is one of the most collectible athletes of all time. No surprise that you've got him, coming up at number 1 on this list, but this is an iconic cover, very strong sale, and it came in as the highest in the month of August. And to my knowledge, it is the second highest public sale in the history of sports magazines. Okay, plenty of other great sports magazine sales this month. So let's take a look at the issues that just missed out on cracking our top 5. First up, we've got a Kobe Bryant first cover. This is from 1998. You might notice that another legend, Magic Johnson, shares the cover with him. And this came in at a $7,800 sale on Heritage. This is a 9.8 mint condition copy of Kobe's first cover. This is very collectible. Anything Kobe is collectible. And yeah, this one just missed out on our top 5. Selling for $6,878 on eBay. We've seen this one. It is the very first issue from 1954. Hall of Famer Eddie Matthews on the cover, and this comes in at a 9.8. Now, we know this is the most frequently graded issue of all time, a bunch of them in a warehouse. So, you've got all kinds of these everywhere, but still a really strong sale. And actually, this is up almost $2,000 from last month. Last month, we were seeing a little bit of softening in the pricing for these 9.8s. It wasn't too long ago that several of them were selling in the $10,000 range. And then, last month it kind of dropped down, but now this one's bouncing back up just under $7,000. Still an awesome collectible have, despite the pop reports, despite the fact that there are quite a few out there. Here we have a 2022 LaMelo Ball Slam cover. Now, this is actually LaMelo Ball's second Slam cover, not even his first. But what makes this one interesting is this is a platinum edition. So Slam puts out what they call the metal editions, and there were only 24 copies of this exact type of cover printed. Even published, there were only 24. This is serial numbered as number 12 out of 24. It was sold, being advertised as still sealed. And so this is a very interesting one. It sold for $5,250 on eBay. Now, I did put an asterisk here. This came from a seller with 0 feedback on eBay, who had never made any other sales. So that's kind of sketchy. When you see an issue like this that, I've never really seen any other sales for, and it's getting sold for a pretty high price from somebody who's never sold anything else on eBay, it gets you wondering if this is legit. You always just kind of have to be aware, and there is a potential for, people kind of, pretending to buy their own products at high prices to try and raise, raise market value and raise what other people will pay. Not saying that necessarily happened here, but it's a possibility. Now, I will also say, I'm just not a huge fan of this whole 12 out of 24 thing. To me, that's manufactured rarity. That's what sports cards do. I love sports cards, but that's a big reason why I have shifted to sports magazines. It's gotten really watered down for me with what the sports cards are doing and all the different variations and parallels and all the serial numbers. I don't like it. I don't like seeing it happen in the sports magazine world, but you know what? That's fine. It's there. Other people like it. And it is what it is. So $5,250 LaMelo Ball Slam from 2022. All right, coming up again on our list, it's the LeBron James first cover from 2002. We have another 9.8. So hold up. Why did our first 9.8 sell for $9,000 and this 9.8 is selling for half of that, $4,500? Well, if you take a closer look, you can see this is actually a blank box subscription. You see that blank box in the bottom right corner? That means this was a subscription issue. Now, it's not really a true subscription issue because it doesn't have the name and the address printed there on the front. This means it had some sort of cover, rip-off, tearaway cover that was on the front of the magazine, and that's where the actual label was printed. And so these blank box subscriptions, they're showing to have a little bit more value and collectability than the normal subscriptions, but obviously they're still not the value of a newsstand. So you can see here, this actually, great comparison. It's 50% of the value of what the newsstand pulled in the same month. You know, this 9.8 sold for 4,500, whereas the true newsstand in a 9.8 sold for $9,000. Now, very interesting. This exact same type of issue, a 9.8 blank box subscription, sold for $3,000 last month. So this is another instance where we're seeing some higher prices from just 1 month ago. All right, very interesting issue here. This is our first appearance from Time Magazine on today's countdown, and it's a Michael Jordan Time Magazine from 1998, and it sold for $4,500 on eBay. Now, this is, you know, once again, 9.8 mint condition. There have been 19 copies of this Time Magazine graded, and there have only been 2 9.8. So this is one of 2 out there in the world that are graded in the top condition. So not surprising that a Michael Jordan 9.8 pop 1 of 2 would sell for $4,500. He's pretty much the most collectible athlete out there, or at least one of the top 3. So yeah, Time Magazine, not an SI, but Time Magazines with athletes can still have some value, especially if it's a 9.8, just like this one here. Next up, we've got Mario Lemieux, 1989. This is his first cover, another 9.8. Awesome headline. It says, as great as Gretzky. And Mario Lemieux, he did go on to be an all-time hockey great. This sold for $3,480 on Heritage. Heritage had an amazing lineup this past month of a bunch of great issues, and this was one of them. And really strong sale here, just missing out on our top 5. Take a look at this one. 2018, you've got Mike Trout. We've got Shohei Ohtani. This is Shohei Ohtani's first cover, and this is dual autographed. Both a Mike Trout and a Shohei Ohtani autograph on this cover. It's a newsstand copy. It's also been authenticated by JSA, very reputable authenticator, and it sold for $2,500 on eBay. So this is raw. This is not graded. But obviously, you can see there's a lot of collectability here. Trout is already pretty much cemented himself as a great. He's a lock for the Hall of Fame. And Shohei Ohtani, I mean, we've never seen anything like him, at least not since Babe Ruth. He's already won 1 MVP, very possibly could win another here soon. And yeah, very cool $2,500 cover here. Here it is again, 2002 LeBron James first cover. Now this one, once again, is a newsstand, sold for $2,000, and it's graded a 9.4. So you can kind of see, you know, where these different types of grades and types of issues stack up against each other. We had the 9.8 newsstand selling for $9,000. We had the 9.8 blank box subscription selling for $4,500. Then you drop down a couple points to a 9.4 newsstand, and it's $2,000. Still a really strong sale here. As we mentioned, there's 188 or 190 newsstand copies of this issue out there. And yeah, second most frequently graded issue of all time, very collectible. Don't look now, but it's another LeBron James first cover. And we have yet another variation to look at. Now we have another blank box subscription, but it's a 9.6. Okay, so the blank box subscription in the 9.8 goes for $4,500. Drop down just 1 grade to a 9.6, and it's going for $1,650. So this is providing some really great data for all of us collectors to see, so you can really get a good idea of, once again, where these different issues stack up as far as the grades, as far as the newsstand versus blank box subscription. Very insightful data here, looking at all these different copies of the LeBron James first cover. All right, finally, we get some variation. Michael Jordan, 1984. This is his first pro cover. So it's not his first Sports Illustrated issue. It's actually his 3rd overall, but it's the very first one with him in his Chicago Bulls uniform. Only graded at a 6.0. So, you know, not a strong grade, but this just shows the collectability of Michael Jordan. You know, the fact that this is a very desirable issue, his first one in a Bulls uniform. And, you know, they're just hard to get. There's only 46 out there altogether. There are 2 9.8s. Man, those 9.8s, I'd like to see what they would sell for. But this one in a 6.0 sold for $1,500. 1965, Sandy Koufax. This is his second cover. This issue is not graded, but it has been autographed and it has been authenticated by PSA. Sandy Koufax autographs are pretty tough to get. He's not one of those guys who has just constantly been in the public eye signing and signing. He's kind of hard to find. He kind of, keeps to himself and lays low. So this is extremely collectible, sold for $1,399 on eBay. Keeping up the trend with the autographed issues, we have Steph Curry. This is his first cover. This is from 2013. This is a regional variant, so this is a really tough issue to find. And the fact that it's autographed just makes it that much more collectible. So this one sold for $1,250 on eBay. Another autograph, and this one actually is graded by CGC. This is the Catch, 1982. This one isn't so much about the great collectible athlete, but this is the moment. This is one of the greatest moments depicted on the cover of a Sports Illustrated. This is iconic. Dwight Clark, he's the 49er on there, skying up to grab that touchdown pass that was thrown by Joe Montana. And it's Everson Walls who's defending him with the Cowboys. And this issue's been autographed by both of them. Very, very cool. And look, it's graded at a 9.4. It's got a qualified label, but that means it's in really good condition, and that's just a super cool issue to me. So this sold for $1,200 on eBay. There have only been 5 issues, 5 copies of this graded, and this is the very highest one, even though it's considered qualified because it's got the signature and CGC doesn't authenticate themselves. Still, it's the highest out there, and this is an awesome issue. Wrapping up our honorable mentions list, we have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, still known as Lou Alcindor here. This is 1967. This is his first Sports Illustrated cover, kinda. So he actually was on one cover before this, but that cover only featured his legs. You had to actually open up the magazine issue to see Kareem's face. So to me, this is really his true first cover. Just not sure that, I really want to display a Sports Illustrated magazine that only shows Kareem's legs. So to me, I kind of consider this to be Kareem's true first cover. We'll put a little asterisk by that. But yeah, this is a strong sale, $1,200 on eBay. And this issue is raw, not even graded. So someone really spending a lot here. I would imagine that the plan has to be to grade this issue. All right, if you saw the first episode of Sports Magazine Moguls, you know that I think it's very important that we keep an eye on other similar hobbies, comics and sports cards. Collecting Sports Illustrated magazines is basically a combination of these two hobbies. And so I like to keep track of what those items are selling for as well, because to me, that's what we should aspire for. That's where this hobby could someday potentially get to. I think that's the ceiling. And so very quickly, we're just going to run down the top 5 comic sales and the top 5 sports card sales from August 2022. So first up, coming in at number 5 on the comics, we have a 1939 DC Superman #1, graded at a CGC 1.0, sold for $103,000 on Goldin auctions. Number 4, a 1962 Marvel Incredible Hulk #1. This was the first appearance of the Incredible Hulk, and it's a CGC 8.0, sold for $156,000 on Goldin. Coming in at a tie, so another number 4, we have X-Men #1, Marvel 1963 CGC 9.0, also sold for $156,000, this time on Heritage. Number 2, it's Amazing Fantasy #15, Marvel 1962, a CGC 7.5, sold for $198,000 on Heritage. And the highest selling comic from last month, Fantastic Four #1, Marvel from 1961. It was a CGC 8.5, and it sold for $228,000 on Heritage. Now moving on to sports cards. Coming in at number 5, we have a Kobe Bryant 1996 Topps Chrome Refractor rookie card, graded at a BGS Pristine Black Label 10, and it went for $795,000 on Heritage. At number 4, it's Michael Jordan 97-98 Upper Deck Game Jersey Autograph Patch Card, numbered 9/23, PSA Near Mint 7, also graded PSA DNA Authentic, and it sold for $990,000 on Goldin auctions. At number 3, 1979 Topps Wayne Gretzky rookie card, graded at a PSA 10, sold for $1.2 million on Heritage. Number 2, a Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, 2006-2007 Triple Logo Man Patch Card, graded at a PSA Authentic, sold for $1,680,000 on Goldin. And number one, you probably heard about this one. This is the highest sports card sale of all time. A Mickey Mantle 1952 Topps, rated at a CGC 9.5, sold for $12.6 million on Heritage. All right, that's it. Thanks for tuning in. We'll do this again next month. And as always, I appreciate likes, comments, subscribes, and make sure you stick around for some trivia. Trivia time, here we go. Last video, I asked the question, 4 current NBA coaches have been on the cover of Sports Illustrated during their time as college basketball players. Can you name them? The 4 correct answers, Jason Kidd, Steve Kerr, Billy Donovan, and new Lakers head coach Darvin Ham. Now, today's question, which MLB player has the highest career total WAR, that's wins above replacement, to never be on the cover of Sports Illustrated? Leave your answer in the comments. First to get it correct will get a shout out in my next video, and we'll see you guys next time.